How do we know what we know? Do we really know anything? Our world is filled with misinformation. We have all the world's information with a couple taps of our fingers, and while we all think we're good at differentiating truth from falsehood, misinformation makes this very tricky. I'm going to give you 3 widely circulated statements regarding the COVID pandemic. Which of these is true? Pfizer and Moderna vaccines can alter your DNA. mRNA technology was created 3 years ago. The virus can cause erectile dysfunction. So I imagine most of you chose the second one. But according to the National Institute of Health, the third one is true. mRNA technology was created in the 1960s, experimented in the 70s, and just perfected in this last decade. I hope we don't even have to talk about whether the first one's true or not. As you can see, our society is plagued with misinformation. We've all heard of these false statements through one means or another, whether it be the content of our COVID vaccines, the winner of the last presidential election, or even the things that we know are objectively insane, like the flat earth theory. It's ever present in the media we consume. I believe a key tool in combating misinformation is our approach to teaching social sciences in school. The question is, are our history classes adequately addressing this challenge? I'm afraid not. In history classes, teachers go out of their way to find primary and reliable secondary sources, which is great. The problem is, when we enter the real world and digital mass media, the world's filled with misinformation, like my example of the COVID conspiracies. Sure, we need reliable sources, but also the crucial skill to find them through our huge body of information. With the challenges we have here in the 21st century, social science courses should have 2 main outcomes. First, knowing important historical events and advancements so that we don't repeat mistakes of the past. And second, learning research methods and skills necessary to advance historical understanding. The first, schools teach very well. Nearly all of us recognize the date 1492 and know about the Declaration of Independence. While this has prepared us well for multiple choice tests and history quiz bowl, what we are neglecting is the second, and I would argue more important principle. Using this knowledge to critically consume media and problem solve in the real world. While I'm sure there are history classes that do some of this, it doesn't meet our modern necessities. Let me explain. Today, it is difficult to differentiate between fact and misinformation because the two are almost always conflated, even in the most prominent media sources. Take Fox News, for instance. They have over 1 million daily viewers and are widely recognized as one of the most popular news sources in America. However, Fox newscasters like Tucker Carlson are constantly spreading misinformation, whether it be deeming the 2020 election rigged or leading the vaccine skepticism movement. But don't take my word for it. His own lawyers, under oath for a lawsuit brought against him, described his speech as loose, figurative, or hyperbolic. The judge even concluded that Carlson is not stating actual facts about the topics he discusses and is instead engaging in exaggeration and non-literal commentary. As such, there's a universal need for the reformation of the social science curriculum to provide students the tools to decipher between fact and cap, as some of you may know it. Obviously, I can't flip our approach to teaching social sciences worldwide. In fact, that would be counterproductive. So, what can we do? I believe I've found the missing piece. We must include in our history classes how to distill truth from information, focusing on the question, how do we know what we know? I'm currently working on creating a semester-long history class called Mysteries of History and Misinformation, which focuses on just that. The research I've conducted in developing the class has highlighted the following things. We've got to build on our understanding of events to think critically and question why the world is the way it is. From there, students should apply their learning through public history projects. For instance, rather than holding a traditional sit-down exam covering Tiananmen Square massacre and modern China, have students write letters and deliver speeches as historical figures representative of the Chinese Democratic Revolution, and provide a synopsis of the reasons behind the choices they made. As opposed to timed essays, have them research and record a podcast episode about a particular topic, compiling the class recordings into a unique published podcast. Not only does this prevent them from miserably writing up and shuffling flashcards, but it also promotes deep understanding and a feeling of making an impact on the world. 10 years from now, whether I'm working for a biotech company or a law firm, they're not going to say, Armin, here are 10 things, memorize them. They'll say, Armin, here's our problem, here's what we know, figure out the solution. Even for a historian, you don't really need to know every detail of history off the top of your head. You must, however, be able to find pieces of information, determine whether or not it's credible, and if it is, write a book, deliver a speech, or make an impact on the world in some way with that knowledge. For example, for our final assessment, students will be fully responsible for organizing and running a conference as representatives of different periods of history. Not only will they think critically about the perspectives and context of their respective countries and eras, but they will also gain exposure to diplomacy and discourse. And it never hurts to make learning fun once in a while. A test shouldn't always be the end goal. Schools are designed to prepare us for the world, and excuse my cliche, teach us how to think. So, how do we know what we know? Teachers, I hope you're able to draw from this talk. This is what students are eager to learn about. Using project-based assessment methods and incorporating public history projects in your curriculum will make class more fun, engage your students, and lead to more fruitful discussions, helping spark authentic learning in your classroom. Parents, redirect your efforts from complaining to teachers about grades and whatnot to encouraging them to engage their students in meaningful class activities. This is what will ultimately make a worthwhile educational experience. Students, we're the ones benefiting from this. To quote the opening scene from Hamilton, "If you stand for nothing, what do you fall for?" Share this talk with your teachers and admin if it's what you believe in. We've talked about history, and now it's time to build the future. And with that, I'll leave history's fate in your hands. Thank you.